Week reporters have flown to Edinburgh from all over the world, but Alex Salmond knows that for victory he needs to reassure voters at home. Why should a Scottish voter believe you, a politician, against men who are responsible for billions of pounds of profits? He didn't answer, but he did attack the reporting of...
But let me turn very specifically to the question of the Royal Bank of Scotland. I've read you the statement to staff released this morning from the Chief Executive of the Royal Bank. I've read the whole thing, so in the relevant paragraph, just let me briefly remind you. It is my view as Chief Executive that any decision to move a registered headquarters should have no impact on everyday banking services. This is a technical procedure regarding the location of our registered head office. Based on current strategy, it is not intention to move operations or jobs. It's not a matter of operations or jobs. It is a technical matter, in the opinion of the Chief Executive of the Royal Bank of Scotland. I've also heard many times on the BBC the argument that Lloyds Banking Group are about to move their headquarters to London. I would have thought, given the headquarters of the BBC in London, that the BBC might have known that Lloyds Banking Group has their headquarters in London, has had for many, many years, and has no jobs and it's registered, attached to its registered office, which is, of course, a plaque in the Mound, which is there not incidentally to do with the Bank of Scotland. It's there because of Lloyd's takeover of the TSB many years ago. So I then come to what I think is now the most interesting matter, which is who in the Treasury, because I have here a screen grab from the BBC last night. I don't know if this was you, Nick, or one of your colleagues. A Treasury source told the BBC that it had discussed the plans with the Royal Bank of Scotland. The Treasury officials or ministers are not allowed to brief market-sensitive information. Market-sensitive information, and it's a basic rule, cannot be released prior to the market announcement at 7 o'clock this morning. The Royal Bank of Scotland share price changed overnight. This is a matter of extraordinary gravity. I've always respected, and I would continue to respect, the journalistic right to maintain and protect sources. But I know that the BBC will want to cooperate with the inevitable investigation by the Cabinet Secretary into the briefing of this information. Given the briefing of information, even if we weren't in a referendum campaign, even if there weren't per the rules which are meant to apply to government, the briefing of market-sensitive information is as serious a matter as you possibly can get. And therefore I know the BBC, in its impartial role as a public sector broadcaster, will give full cooperation to that investigation. Now, can I go back to our friends in the international media, please? This is an international... Sorry, Nick, I'm going back to our friends in international media. Please, there. I mean, I'll tell you what, well, I've just read you the statement. Well, right, and I answered that question. Nick, this has been a lively campaign with heckling at many meetings across Scotland. This is the first opportunity the BBC have had to heckle at a meeting. Congratulations, Nick. I answered you. The corporation tax is based on... Yeah, remember the first part of the question? The corporation tax is based on economic activity, not on your registered office. In, for example, yes, Nick, please. In, for example, the statement I've given you, and, for example, in the Scottish Government calculations of corporation tax, we do not count the activities of Royal Bank of Scotland in London or NatWest or elsewhere. It's based, Nick, on economic activity. That is the rules of corporation tax. And given that the Chief Executive of the Royal Bank of Scotland has said this does not involve, even if it happens, the movement of operations or jobs, and it is, after all, a contingency, but wouldn't involve the movement of operation and jobs, then clearly it would have no impact on personal tax revenues either. And I know that we'll want to report the very sensible statements from Angus Grossart and also from Martin Gilbert of Aberdeen Asset Management this morning. Not saying how they will vote, because that's a private matter for them, but pointing out in their estimation as two giants of the Scottish financial sector that the Scottish financial sector will prosper under independence, as indeed they believe it would prosper under any circumstances. So I think that's a reasonably comprehensive answer, Nick. And then, of course, I know that given I've given you a comprehensive answer, we'll have the full cooperation of the BBC in the inevitable inquiry which will now take place. Can I go to our friends